cats. Pasha's skeletal structure was a bit like that. Prophets are not meant to be healthy, wrote Brodsky, who suffered his first myocardial infarction at the age of 36. At least he'd had broad shoulders. A poet must be feeble, ugly, somehow at a physical disadvantage. If not born that way, he'd promptly get to work on his disintegration by way of alcohol, cigarettes, insomnia, depression. Pasha didn't have to put in the effort. His time could be spent on other endeavors. Pasha's physique resembled Odessa's habitations, but not its inhabitants, who were built well. No complaints there. They were tall, but not beyond their means, spry and sinewy, with tans so deep they must have had extra layers of skin, crude jawlines, and coarse yellow hair. They ate fried dough, fried cabbage, dog meat, and exuded an obstinate vitality. Yet it seemed as if nature had taken less time with them, not more, as if the craft were in the defects. Their superior biological constitutions were perhaps correlated to the dilapidation of their dwelling spaces. There's an inverse relationship to be found here. Other relationships, however, required tending. Pasha was in Brooklyn, where both the buildings and the people were in need of fortifying, and he'd be honoring the borough with his presence for all of July, the entire month. There would be no shortage of first-rate mornings, he pointed out to his restless kin, who mistook the manipulations of neuroses for liveliness, enthusiasm. "Look out the window," they shouted. "Just look out the window." "Tomorrow will be even better," said Pasha. "Not as humid." How presumptuous. What did he know about Julys in New York? As a matter of fact, they were wet, dreary, unpredictable. All of this, however, was beside the point. Having just arrived, he should want to spend time with his family. They'd have plenty of opportunities to tire of one another. If there was tension, it was partly attributable to the way Pasha had dealt with his impending visit, which was the way he dealt with all practical matters. Avoid until they could be avoided no more. A point decided not by him, but external forces. However hard he tried to ignore these forces, they wouldn't ignore him. His sister, Marina, had done everything within her power to simplify the process short of chartering a private jet. She'd decided on the dates and sent him the fare for his ticket. They had no money, but Pasha had even less. When he received the envelope with the cash and felt its weight in his palm, it was somehow even less tangible than when he'd been informed it was coming. He put the envelope in the center of the kitchen table, and for the next month endured a dread of mealtimes, indulging the preference to eat at his desk. Nothing happened, yet the days passed. He grew pale and perplexed. There wasn't a more horrifying, cold sweat-inducing suspicion than that those external forces had finally decided to give up on him. He spoke regularly with his father, Robert, who wouldn't dare strain relations by mentioning such banalities as a plane ticket. Marina juggled an increasing number of jobs and was always running in and out of the background, passing on hellos. But one day she grabbed the phone. Evidently, she'd lost her sense for small talk and banter, the very traits her new land was known to cultivate. "What time do we pick you up?" she asked. A silence. "I'll tell you tomorrow," replied Pasha. The travel agency ridiculed him. Tickets now cost twice the amount he'd been sent, money he didn't have. Marina flew into a howling rage that Pasha couldn't comprehend. Really, it was a simple mistake. Then, just as suddenly, the tempest turned off. The abruptness of the switch from stormy to calm only demonstrated how often such a switch had been practiced, how little faith she had.